Yes, login. I can start. All right, so first let's have an applause for login. All right, very good to be back in Skopje. My name is Andraž, I come from Ljubljana. I work for the MENT Festival. You're very welcome to come and visit in the end of March. But today is not about me, hopefully, because it's about cancel culture. And I'll just let my guests speak as much as possible. And I think we can start with a formal introduction. So I'll just ask everyone to speak a little about yourselves, like what's your role, what do you do, and where do you come from? Maybe we start with Galina. Galina is here instead of Stefan, who couldn't make it, but Galina is from the same country, so probably we will have some of the similar experiences.
Hello. Oh yes, it's working. So yeah, I definitely will not replace Stefan fully because, I mean, he's so special. My name is Galina and I come from Russia. I come from Moscow and I represent HEMI Music Forum, which is a series of conferences which are happening throughout the year in various cities in Russia and also Kazakhstan and Belarus. And of course our main target is to build solid networks within the local music community and to inspire musicians and promoters and the rest of the people. And I'm responsible for the international connections and for the international speakers with the conference, which means that at the moment I don't do much.
Thank you.
I'm Balázs Weyer from Budapest, Budimpesta-based Hangvető, and we produce festivals and European Capital of Culture partnerships programs, and we also overlook some European projects, one of them being Most Music, which is a special Balkan-focused music development program.
Thank you.
Good morning, hi. I'm Lena, I'm based in Hamburg. I'm the managing director of a network that is called the Music Cities Network. That is a worldwide network of music cities. Based in Hamburg, but working transnationally. That means my daily work means that I'm working with music policymakers as well as entrepreneurs, as well as artists, and trying to create better frames for music within the cities that we're working with. I'm also a culture manager, I'm also a DJ, so bringing in a lot of different perspectives from the more Northern European perspective to this very tricky topic.
Tricky indeed.
Hello everybody, my name is Ivan, I'm from Exit Festival and Exit Foundation. You probably heard about this small festival in Novi Sad, which now has also its spin-off events in other countries in the region and further. I'm basically in exit management and responsible for the dealing with the key stakeholders, with the public institutions, big sponsors and other important partners, and also I'm basically running Exit Foundation and responsible for all Exit social projects beside entertainment and music, because Exit, as you probably know, is a kind of movement which is more than music and fun. And yeah, I'm here basically to support the effort of the MOST project and of course PIN and Vladika Login and others. Thank you.
I am Oliver Belopeta, domestic, responsible to bring back good memories from Skopje. If you have any complaints, you can refer to me because I'm from Skopje. My organization, that is non-profit, is called Skopje Jazz Festival, that does two festivals for many years. One is more world music oriented, called OFES. The second is with double long tradition Skopje Jazz Festival. Plus we do some production of mainly local, let's say, ethno music and jazz as a department of the organization. So welcome.
All right, thank you. So now that we know each other, kind of, I think I would like to start with Galina, which is probably the most active topic at the moment. So I would just like to get a sense of like what's going on around you, what's your feeling with cancel culture influencing your work at the moment, and how do you deal with it?
Well, I'm sorry. Cancel culture is a term which is very popular in Russia now. It actually never was until recently, until of course the war started, and when Russian music, classical music, Russian, I don't know, plays, literature got affected. I mean, of course, the rest of the world is not too enthusiastic about having anything to do with Russia whatsoever at the moment. And of course, I think that at the point when your president, I'm afraid, is it being shot or transmitted anywhere? Can I say that he's a psychopath? So yeah, when your psychopathic president starts using this term very actively, like cancel culture is a thing that the Western people use against Russians because they have always hated us. And of course, it is a very popular topic, and of course it affects all of us at the moment. Probably in my work, well, I cannot actually do my work at the moment because of the fact that we're Russians and nobody wants to deal with us internationally. But I wouldn't call that cancel culture. I think it's still politics, and it makes sense up to a point. Of course, it goes to some really ugly extreme sides, but it takes time because, I mean, at the moment I cannot even speak of the previous version of the term when some musician would get cancelled because his girlfriend accused him of, I don't know, verbal and physical abuse. That, unfortunately, at the moment is a thing that we have to forget about because obviously we have other issues that are bigger and stronger and unfortunately uglier. So I'm totally lost.
And how do you deal with it in the terms of like your profession? Like what are you able to do? Like your festival is international. Otherwise, like how do you process this at the moment?
Well, at some point I worked with a festival and I would book international acts, and of course all of the musicians that I booked 3 years ago that kept on postponing because of COVID, of course, they finally cancelled. It's not anymore like the postponement like it was during the COVID days. So I really went through hell booking this Norwegian act, Aurora, back in the days, and of course at the moment they totally cancelled. I mean, everybody was very friendly, I mean, because of course everybody understands that we cannot affect the situation, we're not to blame, but unfortunately things are the way they are. And as for my work at the conference, I was actually preparing a conference in March, and I actually invited you, if you remember. Yes, and I did manage to get some speakers from Europe, and of course we had to cancel all the international part of the conference.
So you now like focus on domestic festival lineup, or what's the situation?
Yes, of course, most of the festivals that do take place, which are very few, of course, under the circumstances, because a lot of the people were focused on international acts. Those big festivals, of course, are not happening. As for the Wild Bean Festival and Stereoleta Festival, that were the only two, I would say, big festivals that happened this year. They went totally with local acts which is, I mean, not a problem because that was the major part of the lineup for a long, long time. So it didn't much affect the festivals themselves, but yeah, of course, it's always amazing to have international musicians, international guests at your events, because I would say that people should be forced to travel, to meet people of other cultures, to, I don't know, open up their mind to other ideas, other, I don't know, rules, ethics, whatever. It is important. And the fact that we are being isolated now, I mean, isolated because it is mostly our own decision, because yeah, isolation is never a good thing, and of course it's gonna push the culture back severely, I would say, because I mean it does remind us of the Soviet times when you were not allowed to speak to the foreigners and whatnot. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I'm now even afraid to make jokes about stuff like that, because unfortunately all the absurd jokes are coming to life, and yeah. So I'm very privileged to be here and to have been traveling this year twice, and I went to Exit Festival and I went to Korea, which was very special because I believe it's important to just keep the connection, because it's important for us to stay in touch, for you to see that some of us are okay, that maybe when things change, of course it's going to take forever, that we may work again together, build some really beautiful projects together.
Hopefully, yeah. Very unfortunate. Okay, Balázs, you kind of have connected experience with Russia as well. Can you elaborate a bit?
Yeah. Sorry. That's a mistake. Where is it? Okay. So first, I think the case of Russia is a very special case of cancel culture, but obviously this is the one that is the most pressing right now. And first of all, I have to say I don't agree with canceling or individual artists at all, because that's kind of punishing for the right reasons the wrong people. That's totally not what I think needs to be done. So I would totally invite artists from Russia or Russian artists living abroad, whatever, to any of our events, even now. But on the other hand, also it became technically much more complicated to invite them. So it's a kind of canceling, not for the political reasons, but it became much more expensive, much more complicated logistics. So it's kind of business reasons as well, why people are inviting less Russian artists. But the example that you've mentioned, and I think it's a special case, we have a festival, it's a small festival of traditional culture every year, where we focus on a specific region or country every year. And this year, the plan was to focus it on Russia, and that we have cancelled because we saw that even if and it's not about the artists, but having like a Russian focus, like at the festival, everything would have been about, you know, Russian cultural traditions, gastronomy, handicraft, music, films, whatever. That's about much more than the artist. It's about you know, putting the country in the middle. It's like celebrating, embracing the culture of the country, and we saw that it would be a bit too much. The least I could say, it would have been very unfortunate timing this year. So.
Well, that's the reason why I don't want to call this actual case cancel culture. Yeah. It's nothing but politics, unfortunately. I mean, you cannot cancel Russian culture in general. I mean, in total. It will never affect Russian literature, Russian classic music. Nothing's going to affect them. And the fact that contemporary musicians cannot travel, well, that's sad, but the time will pass and they will be able to do it.
Yeah, so I don't think it's got anything to do with the artists themselves. It's got on the one hand to do, of course, stuff about politics, which matter in culture, of course. I mean, culture has a political context as well, sometimes. It is connected to PR. I mean, what you know, the individual promoters can afford on the communication side and how they can put their decisions into a marketing context, of course. And it does have to do something with budgets, logistics, price of inviting Russian artists right now.
But do you still invite them, or currently you have kind of an embargo on it because of everything you mentioned?
We don't have an embargo on them. We made this decision with the Russian focus, as I said, but not with the artists. But right now, I don't know if we have any. I don't think we have any plans of inviting artists from Russia. But right now, we are not working on anything that could involve Russia.
Okay, thank you. So, Ivan, you invited a Russian artist to one of your festivals, and there was kind of a backlash. Can you explain a bit about it?
Yes, basically, what happened this year when this war started, let's say now probably the most well-known Ukrainian band, Kalush Orchestra, basically is now represented by one of the biggest Western agencies, and they basically approached us, can you show solidarity with the artists in war and maybe book them for their own festivals, and we kind of accept that to support like artists in trouble, but that was like before they won the Eurovision. And then after they won, we had our first festival in Croatia, which went well. They performed well on it, and then the second one was Exit, and then in Sidens in Montenegro. In the meanwhile, they kind of become very radical in terms of supporting war efforts, joining army, and that kind of took a backlash for some people, because we see it, and we as a festival see that music, culture and artists should be above all this division, and they should always promote peace, promote higher values, promote cooperation, because the culture is the biggest bridge making between the nation and peace builder, and that relationship kind of get into the trouble. But the final thing that happened is in Montenegro we had a sea dance festival, and at one point the guys from the band, they started doing on the social media, when they saw that there are some Russian artists on the lineup as well, they literally called for the cleansing of the scene. And because they were speaking cleansing of the scene from the Russian people, like they use very bad, like very undiscriminatingly wording. And because they were speaking first on Ukrainian, we couldn't follow it, but then they invited their whole army of fans, of million people, more than a few millions, to basically send us like, that's a real like cancel wave campaign. And then we got like this very bad and hate messages from the many of these people, and we were kind of shocked, like what's going on. And then we got translation from all this, and they were thinking like, okay, what to do at this point. And especially the problematic from them was the probably the most famous Russian DJ, the Nina Kravitz, the techno DJ, which is kind of for years coming to all our events, and we have really friendly relationship with her. And we know what is the most tricky part at the beginning of the war, that she publicly go on the social media saying, I pray for peace, and which kind of in today's Russia could get her in the prison because she's living there. So it's a very brave act. And basically what we do, from the beginning we are condemning the war. We are condemning any sort of aggression. We are against any violence that could happen, and we could never justify. We said in our statements like, there is no such a thing as a justified war. And because we are in Serbia, we got so many wars, we understand that very, 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 very good from all perspectives. And as Exit, we see ourselves as advocate of peace, because we are, after the wars in former Yugoslavia, building these bridges with all our neighboring nations, which we had many conflicts, unfortunately. And then we have this, let's say, cancel campaign after us, and then we figure out that we're gonna just there is no space to neglect the values where you are standing for. So we see this as a solo discrimination only on nationality, race, or sexual orientation, or whatsoever, is a double injustice. So basically we said, and it is rude that you are a host of the band and they want to edit your program. Like that's also something very, but we understand their motives, and we said that we will not cancel anybody just solo on their nationality, sexual orientation, religion, race, or whatsoever. It is against our values. It's against our universal values. And then we do that statement, and then they decided to cancel their performance. And that's how it's all finished. But basically, if you are after some principle and some values, you have to respect them every time. Because that, if you cancel artists just because of the nationality, that's one step from burning books. And we know how that finished 70 years ago or 80. So basically, we are not going to do that. Of course, if that artist is, let's say, promoting war, helping war efforts, we will cancel it immediately. But if not, if you just like ordinary person doing, because we see as artists really like the noble, let's say, call, and you have to really be, if you cannot be in the music, in arts, if you are nationalist, if you are spreading hate and so, but if you are okay, and we know these artists who are coming that they are really have a good position, then we'll stand for it, basically. And we didn't get much damage from it. We get only some international media catch it, and there was some, and of course they use only the context to justify their story, but basically because we had like a justice approach to it, and we explained it like clearly, the audience reacted very well, and there was like no any damage from it. And only damage, Ukrainian ambassador in Montenegro basically want to bring all their guests to their shows and all these refugees to be on it. So basically, they are only who suffered in terms that they didn't get some attention, but basically there are other many examples, but for example, but maybe it's another discussion, what is the difference between like promoting right style, let's say, of behavior, or what is the border between freedom of speech, freedom of choice, and those kind of stuff. But that's not in this case, but that in most others. So it's not always clear what is right or wrong on these cases. But for us, as Exit, we pronounced the state of exit more than 20 years ago, after all these conflicts in the Balkans. And we said the state of exit is exit for all people, no matter who they are, what they're doing, no borders, no any kind of division. And we'll continue to do that. And we'll stand for our values, no matter what is a geopolitical situation or what's the urgency of the time.
So this is like a very recent case, but like I was wondering, you work with like a few very international festivals with lots of international guests, international audience as well. Did you have any other cases of cancel culture in the past years?
they're not so strong like this one. There are few cases where, for example, some artists have some obligations or accusements against some behavior, but that's also like if there is some court process going on. So there are very few of them because we really we are very cautious when we are like choosing artists, because we are like social responsible festival. So all those with like bad reputation or some bad acts, we are not choosing them. But in some cases there are some accusations that you are not sure is that right or wrong. So that's like very tricky. Or the process.
So how do you decide? Like I'm very interested in the process in the team. Like if there's an accusation but nothing is like proven in court, where's the limit? Where's the line?
Basically, it's case by case. So we try to get as more info from the manager, from the concert agency, from some media in that country, which probably knows the situation better, and then we make a decision to do it or not. But that's mostly of that is on our own responsibility. This was the first time that we had campaign, like people writing so much these hate messages. Fans of the Kalush, which was not nice at all. Basically, they put us in position that we are, you know, they put you in the context of what they like to, what they see from you, which is not. But in these other cases, I know there are other, for the music industry, I'm telling you, we have many filters before that comes. So only few cases when we decide after we get really more info from it.
Okay, thank you. Oliver, thank you for welcoming us to Skopje. Tell us about Macedonian situation and your situation as a promoter of festivals here. Like, do you have any, like, did you have any issues with cancel culture influencing your work, or what's happening?
Regarding the issue of Russian artists, this is a very special case, I would say. So the term canceling culture, we cannot put and speak all the time regarding this very special situation with the war in Ukraine. But as you mostly spoke on this example, just I can say how is the situation in Macedonia regarding this. The Russian artists of any kind cannot participate in events from the time the war started. In Macedonia, on any festivals, exhibitions, this and that, it's a decision of the government that it's not officially written, but it is unofficial, in a way officially said to everybody as the most music or other cultural events are organized or held in venues that are state venues, or the events are mostly subsidized either by the central government or local town councils, and so everybody follows this, I would say, instruction. So it's another thing if I agree with this and that, but this is a really very, very special case. Basically myself, nevertheless of the whole situation, I don't agree that in this case the culture from Russia should be cancelled. Even this means not performing basically the music that was done centuries ago. From Russia. But anyway, canceling culture became a very mainstream term, I would say, in let's say 2-3 decades, and we have so many cases from the States elsewhere. It's very actual on many levels, as the term includes so many different issues. Just for the example of Macedonia, touching some issues. Of course, that not only my company, but all other companies, login companies, festivals, and so we are absolutely free to make the choice. So there is no that kind of interference or censorship and so and so. Though there are some a couple of, let's say, examples that I was thinking about. For instance, usually I'd like to say, referring to the medias, especially electronic, like TV. TVs are extremely, still very influential. We have, for instance, in comparison with Slovenia, almost some 6 times more national licensed TVs. And I usually say the culture is cancelled on the TVs. It's only politics. It was not like that, let's say, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And that's a terrible situation, only politics. And knowing how much the TVs are still influential, radios a little bit less, this is not a good situation. And this I put in this mainstream term, canceling culture. From the other side, we have, of course, in the last decades, the expansion of social medias, internet, of course, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we can speak about a lot of cases of, not only in Macedonia, of canceling culture, the term, and the examples due to this medias and experience. In what terms? We'll tell you like this. Of course, Facebook is very influential, Instagram, Twitter as well, and the opinions of high-level public figures, of cultural figures that are different than the ones of the majority of the population, they can have a consequence that some organizers in a culture field will not invite because of their different kind of opinion that is basically free of speech on anything, not inviting them. Another case due to social media is that the artists are free to have their political opinion and their political stance. And a lot of, especially even in music, a lot of young and older bands and so the members, they have some political stance. Some like this party, some are members or followers of the other party. Position, opposition. So if they put frequently, and you can notice from reading them, politically where they stand, what is their own right. From the other sides, or political, let's say, stance, they will not agree. And it happens that on some events, at the end, the events who are organized for people who are from, let's say, one political field, they will not invite the acts with different political stance. That is a crazy thing. It has nothing to do, let's say, with music or any kind of artist. And it's same with, let's say, same effect on TVs who are cloning to one party if some, let's say, video spot music comes from the ones who are from the other party. It's not going to be shown, simply. So there are a lot of cases like this, and a movement that is not best, and I think it's happening in some other countries as well, not much in Slovenia.
But it ever influence your event directly? Like in the sense there was an artist you had to cancel because of some public issues that appeared after booking them or
No, we didn't have any such case.
Okay.
And I will give you answer why. We should know, and we have all the experience, especially as we do a lot of international concerts. Basically, the artists are very open-minded people and very progressive. We know from the rock field, jazz field, world music field, and it's a joy to work with such open-minded.
That's nice to hear. Lena, like your work might be a bit more focused or a bit more influenced by cancel culture as well. So it would be very interesting, to hear your thoughts about it. And you actually mentioned that cancel culture is not a thing anymore in Germany, and I would really like to hear more about it.
Yeah, it's still there, but I think, I think the work that I do, and I think when I was asked to be on the panel, I was like, okay, this is a tricky topic, like personally, but I think for everyone involved, and thank you for sharing so far. It was really, inspiring to listen. When I was asked to be on the panel, I really asked myself or to reflect on the fact, where cancel culture, the term, is coming from. And that I think the danger generally is that events are becoming a play ball. Can you say that in English?
Probably.
I guess so. Like in between the different barriers of these conflicts, and becoming kind of the location where political ideas are kind of situated, but in a cultural context. So that I find is generally problematic. The work that we do with the Music Cities Network always focuses on bringing people together, no matter where they are from, and everything that you said as well. I'm resonating a lot with that, because if we're seeing that, then the culture as well as the music industry is a place where all of these things don't matter, and we can actually try to live an example of inclusivity and diversity in the most best case. Of course, there are cases of canceling culture. In Germany, I'm based in Hamburg, but also work a lot with Berlin, and I have a lot of people in all Germany that I'm working with as well. I feel there has been as well a wave of, if we're taking the case of Russia, of artists that have then been cancelled because of the situation. But I'm totally with you as well when talking about the fact that we need to take it case by case, and that culture is the thing that will bring us all together in the end, when hopefully the war situation, everything has stopped very soon. So I feel like, I think when I was talking about this topic or thinking about it, I was kind of solution oriented. How can we deal with these cases? And I wouldn't also never call it I would not like to call it cancel culture, but that's why I said in our little pre-talk is, I think the discussion in Germany is about collective accountability in terms of what is when these cases are happening and how do we deal with it collectively, either in a frame of a festival or in a frame of a city or in a frame of an event that you want to host. So these are things I think we work with the Music Cities Network. When I think about what can I do with my organization that is working transnationally in order to be as inclusive as possible, no matter the political circumstances, or that means we have guidelines, we have a code of conduct. There's something that you talked about. So even for the audience and the people that are sitting here, I think the case needs to be like very singular oriented and taken case by case, and then kind of looking at the artist, because I like to still believe that the music industry or music scene is the place where we can actually create a better society and then go back to reality.
Like I agree. Culture should be like and always was like a part of the progress of society. So where do you like in your cases, like where do you see solutions and collective progress in this case?
I feel for like specific examples that I have, that is not only about, canceling culture. Russia is one example, but I think if we're talking about canceling culture in Germany as well, it's also a lot about cases of discrimination, sexual harassment, cases of racist comments, or people being violent against other persons. So it's really about, so if we're taking an organization, it's really about being aware about that and also asking ourselves, how do we act in a case of harassment or border transgression, and how do we deal with that? So, and we use the term awareness about for that in Germany a lot. So awareness concepts, awareness ideas. That means the whole team that you're working with, and I feel its festival is a good example as well. Means there is a state of mind of awareness internally, how to deal and how to behave. It's like a guideline, but also that is lived in kind of internally, but also externally with the festival or an event that has been taken on or been taken place. As well as I feel, but it's a small example, to be as inclusive as possible. If I am working with the Music Cities Network and we're having EU-funded projects within the Music Cities Network, as for example a hip-hop exchange project we're doing, if we're putting out an open call, the cities that I'm working with, they are invited or asked to send a super diverse shortlist already of artists that they want to present. So talk backgrounds, gender, age, and everything. But like the question is really, where does the change start? So, and I feel like if I'm running an organization, I can put those frames into place and then give them out, as well as awareness concepts, and then kind of live by a better example and then influence the rest. It goes a bit away from kind of the Russian example as well, but like, it's a big topic as well.
Yeah, definitely, Russia is a big topic at the moment, but I wanted to address what you mentioned, like racist comments, sexual harassment. Where do you see this, like if a certain person, like a public person, is cancelled? Are they cancelled forever? Is there a rehabilitation period, or are these people actually dead to the world? What's the idea?
The process that I have seen in a couple of kind of left-wingish techno or electronic festivals in Germany is really, it always starts with the person, and it always has to start with the person that is feeling harassed. So that person has the ownership about the opinion, and if that person feels harassed, okay. So, and then if a person gets cancelled, I feel that there have been a lot of cases in Germany now where it's some kind of rehabilitation, that a person that has been harassed was not cancelled completely, but taken into some kind of mentoringship to not cancel the person. Like if it's about sexual harassment and that person also sees the point and is willing to learn, then there have been cases of exchange and also people going into workshops and mentoring sessions and learning and progressing. So mostly they are excluded, but then I have also seen moments of people being reintegrated in giving statements and working with them, because I also feel it's super difficult to canceling a person completely is depending on what, but if we're talking about sexual harassment or of the racist comments, it really depends, and of course it needs to be taken step by step, but taken from the person that is harassing, this is kind of the case, and then it's difficult.
From case to case.
From case to
where is
case,
it
yeah.
at? Galina, you mentioned like that, like it was very interesting at the start. You mentioned that you didn't really, that you feel that you didn't really deal with cancel culture before in Russia. Like, can you explain this a bit? Like, was it like silence and you just watched like other countries working on it? Or?
Well, Russia is special in so many ways, of course. And of course, the majority of people are super against cancel culture with all the very popular cases, I don't know, of Johnny Depp and the rest of the people that recently became cancelled. I don't know, like Harvey Weinstein and the rest of the very media popular cases. I mean, in Russia, unfortunately, the majority of people would start blaming the victim in most of the cases, because sadly, well, at one point, the majority of people in Russia are people past 60 years old. So for them, it's pretty tough to comprehend that the moral has been changing and quite radically. So all the new rules of, I don't know, like not commenting on the size of your employee's ass, kind of things is something that is absolutely new and very, very not Russian. So I can remember probably only one case of an artist being actually cancelled. In Russia, it was the case of the singer of Pasush band, when his girlfriend went public with an interview claiming that he physically and psychologically, verbally abused her. And there was a huge scandal, of course, and I was actually surprised to see that he got cancelled. Because usually people start blaming the girl, saying like she just wants publicity, she wants to be popular, she knows that her singing career is not going well, so she's just trying to attract attention. But, well, yeah, I mean, I personally don't think that canceling people if they are jerks is a bad thing. But obviously it is a very, very new concept. And people tend to go to extremes, you know, like canceling a person forever, of course, is not a good idea. But again, it takes time to make this mechanism work, to at some point help the person who made a mistake and not to, again, keep harassing the person being harassed. So we are facing something very new and interesting, and I would say that it's a victory of humanism, because every single life is important. Every single opinion is important. And I mean, things are changing pretty radically. And sadly, because of the war, my country is being pushed back for like many, many years, because recently we did start noticing that people became friendlier, nicer to others. And it's not because that they were forced to, that they had to, it was some fake smiles, nothing of the sort. They, after all the mess that the Soviet Union put us through, when each person was an enemy to another person, because obviously that was the only way that the government could survive, we gradually started trusting each other and understanding that, I don't know, some local unions are important. We need to be together, we need to understand each other, and I don't know, say thank you and smile to each other, which is a thing that in Russia is a rare occasion, yeah. Unfortunately, yes, we are going to face some really, really ugly things. I mean, it even doesn't matter how long the war lasts. Unfortunately, I'm afraid it's going to last a lot longer than we would wish, but all the people who will come back from the war, who are now facing a huge amount of violence and, I don't know, objectification of other people. I mean, if you can kill someone on the battlefield, which means you can kill someone when you come back home. And I'm afraid that cancel culture is not a thing that is going to be on our mind in the future. We will have quite a lot of violence again in the society, and I just really hope that the time passes quite quickly and we again face some really nice, cool, friendly times.
Yeah, very happy to follow that. So yeah, but yeah, we still have a few minutes, so we'll try to get a bit more of opinions. So Balázs, you come from a country that's also, at least in like internationalized politically, a bit on the spectrum. So do you feel like with new generations there's progress in society, in the sense of like Galina mentioned, that the younger generation is maybe more aware of why they would cancel someone?
Yeah, obviously, but I don't think it's anything to compare to the case of Russia. In this sense, and urban and rural areas differ a lot in those values, of course. But I think the Russia-Ukraine case, it's very special in this sense. So it's obviously we needed to focus on that one this time, and a lot of events, festivals, whatever, everybody wants to take a stand somehow, and we can only take a stand through our programming. That's our instrument. It's got its other side as well. It's not just, you know, having much less Russian artists in Europe right now. It's also having a lot more Ukrainian artists this year everywhere, because this is also a way to express where we are. But if maybe it helps to put it in another perspective. Because Russia, Ukraine, it's like clear, you know, two countries. But if consider Iran, for example, so would anyone invite an artist from Iran who is kind of actively campaigning against women's rights right now or any time? Probably not. Maybe it's difficult to get information about artists from Russia if this actual artist is pro-war, against war, neutral, silent, whatever, or from Iran as well. We need people inside those countries, trusted people who we can ask about those. But so it's a lot of questions. But coming back to what you've asked, yeah, obviously there are differences in generations in Hungary as well. But not just generations, it's all kind of social differences, like upper class, lower class, rural, urban, older, younger, and it's kind of a global notion. So I think that also if you look at the values, election results, and anywhere in the world almost, there is a clear division and a growing division between the values of urban and rural areas. Maybe what you can see in election results for, I don't know, from Poland and Brazil or Hungary and the US is that rural areas, rural people in Poland and Brazil have more in common than rural areas and urban areas, between urban areas in Poland and Brazil. So like, it seems like there is a global urban and a global rural kind of set of values these days. At least that's what we see from surveys and elections.
Okay, I think I think this is like a discussion that could go like on for 10 hours, and it's like 5 guests, so pretty heavy. So I think we have just like a couple of minutes left, and I would just like if everyone can express like in a sentence or two, just like where do you see the simplest solution in getting this world better and have less cancel culture, and how can we influence it with making events and culture?
I will try in few sentences. I think first we have to make a difference between two types of cancel. One is like if some person or artist is accused for something which is like prohibited by law, racism, rapist, or whatsoever. So that's a one story, and that's quite justified. Is it true to stop this, which is already illegal and should be processes? The second one is if somebody is attacked or based on his opinion or her opinion about anything. That's the tricky part, like, because then you can basically make some sort of totalitarianism that everybody should think as one, which is kind of bad stuff. I know one example who is kind of cancel culture, like Novak Djokovic, the number one for many years tennis player. He basically had a situation with he was cancelled in the global media and sponsors just because he said once that he is not considering to put a foreign object in his body. He was not advocating against vaccination. He was not saying that's the wrong thing. He was not calling his fan do not do vaccination. But immediately, just for that one sentence, is like 2 years, his image was quite damaged. We as a festival, we supported vaccination.
It's canceling, sorry, it's funny. It's canceling culture because it's 1 o'clock. Sorry, your panel finished. Thank you very much. You can go on the next panel in the other venue.
Anyway,
thanks to our guests, thanks to everybody.
Logan.
Yes, I'm not here. It's 1 o'clock.
Big Pharma is sponsoring also Pink Conference, so no vaccination topics.
Anyway, can you still hear me? Okay, so without the microphone, it was too short. Cancel Logan because of it. We're not guilty. The guests are very nice. Thank you for sharing all your thoughts. And have a great day.